I gotta fix that. That's okay though. I messed up with the intro. That's okay. Welcome everyone to the happy hour edition, the Friday happy hour edition of No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports or grab a beverage. So, we are presented by Belly Up Sports. My name's Ryan McCarthy. I'm one of the hosts of the show, and to my right is a man who likes his whiskey neat and his women also neat. Dustin Henry. Dustin, how we doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. This week's been a little long. Got family stuff going on, but as always, this podcast is a beacon, and hopefully my mic placement is good. I had to lower it after last show. My niece was over. She was testing out my microphone. I noticed last show when I was watching some of the clips back, I said my mic's a little high. It's right in front of my face. You can't cover this beak. This beak's got to stay in the open. But I'm doing well. I ate some pizza. I'm ready to go.
Hey.
I got my beverages poured. How are you, sir? I know that you were podcasting with our friend of the show, D. Willie, before the show for TFT, my friend, the mothership, the original show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. You know, I just ended Total Football Talk with our friend Drew Willingham. He's probably watching right now for the first half hour of the show before he goes to work. And you know, I've got the CFL Friday night game on my browser right now. I've got my drink in my hand, but that's quite all right. So I got my drink of choice in my hand, in my left hand, and I'm ready to talk some. I'm ready to talk some sports, some NFL. We're going to talk about some NFL. We're going to talk about an article that my sister sent to me that I texted to Dustin this week. We're going to talk about that in Hot Food Takes. And we're also going to talk about our favorite athletes to wear the number 47. But before we do that, we just want to remind the folks watching or listening to follow us. Follow us on social media, either on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Just search for No Credentials Required. And also check out our other podcasts and written articles at bellyupsports.com. On the podcast side, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, iHeart, TuneIn, Pandora, and also our YouTube channel after the show. And also hit that notification bell on Twitter and on YouTube. That way you know when live shows go up, you know when show clips go up, when general announcements go up. They'll also be on our Facebook channel as well. Also, this will be replayed on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern time. So check out the Belly Up Sports YouTube page. Subscribe to them for more content, not just No Credentials Required, but our other shows as well. Check them out there. And also, rate, review, comment. Leave us a 5-star rating. Leave us a review if you can on a podcast platform or on a podcast platform where you can review. And also on Spotify, you can comment. You can also leave a comment on the Belly Up Sports YouTube page on our show when our show goes live there. And also, we're a live show most Tuesdays at 6:30 Eastern and on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, and the occasional No Credentials Required happy hour on a Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And, we want you to leave some comments during the show. We're going to talk about the NFL tonight. We're going to talk about what we're drinking. We're going to talk about our favorite athletes to wear number 47. We're going to talk a little barbecue, which is really, really nice. But in the meantime, Dustin, I know it's been a long, strange week for you. It's been okay with me, but it's a certain time, even during happy hour, even during the No Credentials Required happy hour, it's a certain time that we like to do.
That's right. A different day, a different time, but it's still fine. It's always chime time.
It certainly is. All right. With that, we are going to lead off this happy hour with what we're going to be drinking during the show, throughout the show. I've got my iced tea. I've got my Crystal Light in my handy dandy ice shaker, my Bombardier ice shaker bottle here. But we also got our adult beverage of choice tonight. But I'm going to have you lead it off, sir. What beverage are you drinking this evening?
Well, this evening I decided to go a little German for us here.
Yeah.
Weisstefaner. Weisstefaner. It's a standby beer for me. I like this is the Pilsner variety, and
Nice.
this is the world's oldest brewery according to them. I haven't done the math, but I love the beers that this brewery puts out. We know the Germans know how to do beer, and I just felt like turning back the clock because I almost when I was younger. I went through a phase where pretty much all I drank was German beer, and I felt like turning back the clock. And I've got it in my Seahawks glass, my Super Bowl
Hey.
champions glass. It's getting a little long in the tooth now. The Seahawk is getting worn away. I'm trying to preserve it, but I figure we're going to talk some football tonight for the first time in a long time. So I figured it's time
Yeah.
for the Seahawks glass. But if you have not had any beer from this brewery, I would recommend it. It's very, very good. A delicious pilsner, and it's some nice, relatively light drinking, but still has some flavor for these summer months. Albeit we're about to get hit with rain again. And before we go much further, I'm going to ask you what you're drinking, Ryan. But I'd like to raise a birthday toast in the Seahawks mug
Yes.
to my fellow Gemini and one of the my fellow horsemen on Seahawks sessions and a Seahawk
Ooh.
fan himself, our boy of summer, Kevin Wilson. Ryan, what are you drinking? And will you join me in raising your glass?
Yes, I will momentarily, but I did the real time research, and yes, Weizenstephan is the oldest brewery in the world, established in 1040 AD, the year of our
Wow.
Lord, 1040. So it's been around for almost 1,000, it'll be 1,000 years and 15 years.
Oh man, that's crazy. And props to you for that much better pronunciation than what I
Yes.
did. I
So
butchered it.
So according to Gemini, Google Gemini AI, Weizenstephan was originally established as a Benedictine monastery in 725. Then
Okay.
in 1040, they obtained an official brewing and sales license from the city of Freising. It's in Germany. So yes, it's the oldest continually operating brewery in the world since 1040, and it had been 985 years going strong. Probably still using the same recipe from the German purity law standard. Uh, I forgot how to pronounce it. It'll come to me eventually. But but what I'm drinking is actually from a brewery that's relatively new in terms of brewing, because craft brewing is in the United States is still a baby, so to
Yeah.
speak. So to speak. Um, but I'm drinking from our friends at Treehouse Brewing. I got this at the Saratoga Tap Room location. This is the Juice Machine Double IPA, and this is according to the can, which I'm holding right here in my hand. It's a little robot. Danger,
Nice.
danger, Will Robinson, uh, robot on here. And this is what the can says on the side here. It says Juice Machine is essentially a marriage of the King Julius malt bill with a hopping schedule more intense than that of Very Green. The use of Magnum, Columbus, Amarillo, Citra, and Galaxy creates perhaps our most complex beer with the unapologetic notes of mango, creamy orange sorbet, papaya, and passion fruit, with wave after wave of juicy hop flavor. Probably why it's called Juice Machine.
Yeah.
In spite of its intensity, it is pillowy soft and drinks like a true pleasure. Wow.
What?
It is a
What a
mass.
description.
Yeah, right. It is a mass of hop flavor that takes us to a place that few other of our beers too. It's a hop nirvana. Drink it by the can. Indeed, I will.
All
But
right.
I will
I
not
got
drink
to
it by the
try that.
can. I will not actually. I have one. I think I have one or two left. So next time I see you, don't forget to remind me to bring you a can. But I am drinking it not from the can. I'm drinking it from my
Ooh.
edition Dogfish Head drinking glass that I got at a beer tasting event at Boca Bistro in 2014. I want to say it's their special edition glass that they made for themselves that Dogfish did that
Mhm.
He brings out a lot of the hoppiness of the IPA. So yes, I will drink to our boy of summer, Kevin, who's enjoying his happy birthday today. I believe he said. I believe during our in the green room, you said that he's at the Dallas Wings Indiana Fever game tonight.
Yeah.
So
I did
having
text
fun.
him.
Although the last I saw, the Fever were up by quite a lot at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah. I was just about to say, I texted Kevin before the show. I said, "Hey, happy birthday." He said, "Thanks." I said, "How's the game?" He said, "It's an embarrassment. The Wings are getting blown off the floor."
Yep.
So here we go.
That they are. But in the meantime, we're gonna toast to him to say happy birthday. But we're also gonna toast to you, our audience, for tuning in. And hopefully you're enjoying a beverage with us. If you're not, if it's a non-alcoholic kind, that's okay too. We want you to enjoy and share this great time with us. So cheers to Kevin. Cheers to y'all watching. Even looks like orange juice too.
Yeah, it does. I definitely have to try that thing. And we might just have to have another production meeting at Beer Tree, Ryan.
Oh, we definitely will.
Or Treehouse. I always do that. I always do that. I cross them up. Treehouse. Sorry.
I understand. My sources tell me that in heaven there is a beer tree.
So. Yes. Well, and there is a Beer Tree Brewing, I think, out Binghamton way. So they
might be right.
They're around.
We do have a question in the chat.
Yes.
It is from your Uncle Al, who says, "I need a recommendation. Someone's doing me a solid, and I want him to get him some beer. Any recommendations? They have a wheat allergy." Yes, there are some gluten-free beers out there. I'm trying to remember the name of the company. I'll do the research, but Dustin, do you have any recommendations?
I was racking my brain, but I just can't. As far as gluten free, that's a tall order for me.
I remember. Okay, I remember now. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a tall order for me. So I'm sorry, Uncle Al. I was going to tell you to text me off the show, and I'd try to figure something out. But I don't. Wheat is a key ingredient in most beers. So
it depends on the. Yeah, it'll depend on the beer. It'll depend on the beer for sure. Because a lot of grain. There aren't a whole lot of grain-free brewers out there. However, I can recommend Glutenberg. Glutenberg. I usually see them in the beverage stores. They primarily use millet, buckwheat, and black rice. For their beers. You can also check out Ghostfish, Groundbreaker, and Aurochs. Auroch. They use millet and quinoa. So any kind of grains that can be gluten free. So I would recommend them. I know Dogfish had made a gluten free beer back in the day. I don't know if they sell it up here though. But you would definitely want to check out your local beverage store like Bev's or there's that one in Half Moon. I'm trying to remember the top of my head what
there is it Save More?
Yes, I think it's Save More.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's Save More Beverage, and then there's Minogue's. I can't remember where Minogue's was.
Minogue's is now called Bev's.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I'm a little outdated.
So yes, it's Save More Beverage on Route 9. Yeah. You can check them out. They're in Half Moon. So Save More Beverage. Right next to next to them is a fishery. Is a fishmonger. so yeah, you want to check them out. And Dan Cruz from Time to BS. Oh boy, here we go. Country roads, take me home to the place where I belong. What?
That's where he lives, man. You can't.
I know.
Can't hate on him.
Yeah, and your uncle says, "Awesome recommendation. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Al, for being here. We appreciate you, sir."
Yeah, well, that's pretty much that was all Ryan. I did nothing, but I'll take the thank you anyway. And don't worry,
take the assist.
Yeah, don't worry, Uncle Al. I'm. It's been too long since I've gotten a little sports gathering for the boys. I'm cooking something up because I need things to look forward to.
All right. Well, speaking of something to look forward to, we are looking forward to the NFL starting up very, very soon. Training camp starts in roughly, I want to say, 5 or 6 weeks. The Hall of Fame game is coming soon, but I got this idea from watching Rod Peterson show, friend of the show, Rod Peterson, this week. He was writing down in his notes what his top 10 stories he's watching for the 2025 season. And I got inspired for a happy hour topic. And I said, hey, why don't we do a top 10 stories for the NFL season that we're paying attention to, both you and I? So we're going to start things off. And I'm not sure if I'm going to go by ascending order. So I'm going to start with number 1.
Okay.
And go through number 10. But I've been talking a little bit too much today, Dustin. So let's start. Let me start with you. Let me get your top 5 stories. Here's what we'll do.
Yeah.
We'll do our first 5 stories each.
Yep.
So you start with your 5. Then I go to my 5. Then we'll go to your final 5. Then we'll do my final 5. Then we'll take a break so I can enjoy my beer.
All right. Well, and if there's
you enjoy your beer too.
Yeah, and if there's any overlap, we'll figure it out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We got this. But I'm drinking out of the Seahawks mug. I am a Seahawks fan. I'm going to be watching a few stories, and I'll get into these, I'm sure, as the season ramps up. Myself and Mr. Cruz and Kevin will be talking all things Seahawks on an upcoming episode of Seahawks Sessions. But I'm leading off with my team, the team I love so dear. My number 1 story is, how will Sam Darnold and the new look offense look in Seattle? They changed offensive coordinators. They surprisingly, I still am somewhat shocked that Ryan Grubb was let go, but it was basically so that they could emphasize the run. They felt that he did not do enough of that, and they bring in old Clint Kubiak to do that. Clint with a K. Questionable spelling of Clint, but they bring in Clint Kubiak to focus on the run, and Mr. Cruz has been very vocal about the zone block run scheme coming in. He's got high hopes, but you have to have a good offensive line to do that, and we'll see how the Seahawks offensive line is this year. They had some injuries last year. Maybe the offensive line gels a little better this year. Please, Mr. Lucas, hopefully, can your ankles stay intact? So that's my number 1. I'll have an eye on Sam Darnold all season. He was the big acquisition at quarterback, the big change, and I want to see if the year in Minnesota was an aberration. We have a lot more data that may say that the year in Minnesota was an aberration, the outlier, but maybe he will figure it out. My number 2 story. I'm sorry, I went a little quarterback heavy in my top 2. Who starts at week 1 for the Browns at QB?
Oh gosh,
that's a big mystery. The Browns are a dumpster fire at QB right now. One of the QBs, the hopefuls, once Shadur Sanders, is speeding, but not in the way that you think. He's got to learn to pump the brakes there in Cleveland. But who knows? Who knows who will start? If it is Shadur, that'd be entertaining to watch. If it's Joe Flacco, let's see what he's got. If it's Mr. Gabriel, their 3rd round draft pick, let's see what he's got. And I don't think Kenny Pickett will be on the team to open the season. But that's just my thoughts. My number 3 story, again, it is QB related, but more surrounding a whole team. I have, will the Bears make the leap under first-year head coach Ben Johnson? Will Caleb Williams finally ascend and start to show some of that ability and make that leap that players make sometimes? Have they put enough around him? Will Ben Johnson's scheme put Caleb Williams in a place to thrive? How will the Bears be defensively? They had a defense that played very well for certain spots last year, and it was just, and they lost some games simply because of Matt Eberfludini making the leads disappear there. But will they make the leap under Ben Johnson? That's my number 3. My number 4, you knew it was going to make this list. Can Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin coexist in Pittsburgh? Aaron Rodgers is doing Aaron Rodgers things already. Now they have to deal with is this your last season, Aaron? Is it not? They're going to have to deal with that all year in Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin usually doesn't roll like that. He's a no-nonsense coach. This could be a tough marriage, but this was Mike Tomlin wanted this apparently. So how will they coexist in Pittsburgh? They traded George Pickens to Dallas, but they still have DK Metcalf, who's a fiery person in his own right, the big acquisition of the offseason. How will all of these personalities coexist? Speaking of DK Metcalf, he was drafted by the Seahawks when one Pete Carroll was still the coach. That's my number 5 story before I pass the baton to you. Will Pete Carroll's approach start to pay dividends in year 1 in Vegas? Will the players buy in? Will the new acquisition of Geno Smith, who obviously knows Pete Carroll's system and philosophy very well, will those two be enough to kind of imprint that culture that Pete Carroll had in Seattle for so many years? Will it start to pay dividends in Vegas? How will Ashton Jeanty perform at the running back position? A classic Pete Carroll pick. That's my number 5. With that, I throw it over to you, sir.
All right. So here I go. My top 10 stories. Well, actually, my first 5 of the top 10 stories I'm looking out for in 2025 in the NFL. The first one is the Philadelphia Eagles. Are we seeing a dynasty brewing in the city of brotherly love? And I know your Uncle Al's in the chat. I know he's a big Giants fan. I know it would rather him, for his sake, be a team like the Eagles or the Commanders or his New York Giants. Definitely not the Dallas Cowboys. They're light years away from ever becoming a dynasty ever again. But I think the Eagles are. I think we're going to see. We're going to start this, especially starting last season. The fact that Saquon Barkley signed for, I guess you could say, peanuts on the dollar, but he signed a contract extension during right a couple weeks after the season ended to stay in Philadelphia and got paid a lot of money. He's going to be there for a long time. And I think if you have that, you have him in the backfield taking a lot of pressure off of Jalen Hurts, which opens things up for him to do his thing with the bounty of receivers he has at his beck and call. And that defense, my God, that defense of the Eagles is just, we just saw so much of what they did against the Kansas City Chiefs and what they did to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl at least in the first 3 quarters.
Yeah.
At one point, they're up 40-6 on the Eagles. This team and the way Howie Roseman is operating things, in spite of some of Nick Sirianni's decisions, you could see this team appear in the Super Bowl like the Kansas City Chiefs have been doing over the next couple of seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And they could start next if they have a very good chance, a very good possibility of repeating this season. Because I don't see anybody really in the NFC. And I know I'll say his name and he'll appear. Mr. Snowman going to appear in the chat saying, my 49ers are going to win the number. He actually said that in his program this morning. He said, I think the 49ers are going to clinch the division by Christmas and they'll win the number 1 seed in the NFC. I'm like, no. They have an easy schedule, but even with an easy schedule, things can go wrong very quickly. So
well,
I
also
see
the Rams would like a word.
The Rams would like a word. I'm sure your Seahawks would like a word as well. I'm curious to see what they'll do in year 2 of Mike McDonald's era.
Yeah, the defense is going to be good for Seattle. I think that the offense is going to be the question mark.
Number 2, we'll flip over to the AFC. I have to wonder if we're going to start seeing a changing of the guard again in the AFC because the Chiefs are getting older. Patrick Mahomes is, I suspect this is going to be year 5 of his 10-year contract, 10-year, $400 million contract. I believe this is year number 5. He's still in his 20s, but I'm starting to see some cracks in the offense a little bit. We saw it in bits and pieces last year and the year before, but you okay?
Yeah, that was my coaster.
Oh,
The beer stuck to my coaster, and then it slanted. I'm like, oh man,
oh man.
the noise gate gets that one.
Oh gosh. So, like I said, we're starting to see. Sorry. Well, before I was interrupted by Dustin's coaster, we were starting to see some cracks in the foundations a little bit with the Chiefs. But like good teams are supposed to, they lose some pieces, but they reload. But there were some times last season where you started to see the flaws. You started to see some of the cracks. You saw it especially in the divisional game against the Texans. You saw it in the division. You saw it in the championship game against the Bills. And the Bills had their chances to take this team down, but they just couldn't. You can't keep you really can't keep a monster down while they're still alive. Uh, you have to take the head off, and they went for the king. They if you go for the king, you better not miss. Buffalo missed. Buffalo right now. Kansas City is Buffalo's kryptonite, but there are some teams in the AFC that, I mean, Buffalo, Baltimore. I want to see what Lamar Jackson. I want to see that narrative of Lamar Jackson not being able to come up in the big game end. I hope he does it this year.
Yeah.
But are we going to see a changing in the guard in the AFC finally? We've seen the Chiefs in the championship game. Was it 6 years in a row now in the AFC Championship game? They've been to those Super Bowl. They've lost a couple of those games, but they've won Super Bowls. They've lost Super Bowls. So I gotta figure there's gonna be at some point this team's gonna get older. The foundations are starting to crack. Could it be this season? Number 3. Are there going to now? I wonder if there's going to be some teams that made huge strides last year. If they're going to keep going this year. Washington, I'm looking at you especially because we've had a year of Jaden Daniels. They had that great run they had where they beat Tampa in the wild card. I didn't see that game against Detroit coming in the divisional. All came to a crashing halt in the championship game. Although for a half, you could argue that they were in contention. And then in the second half, Eagles just took over and then went to overdrive and Washington couldn't keep up. So Washington, I'm taking a look at them. Who was in that line? I mean, there's some other teams I'm looking to see if they make a stride last year. The Bengals struggled. I wonder if they'll come back to form like they have been the last couple of seasons. And those teams that kind of missed out on the playoffs or missed out on things on being contenders last year, if they're going to take strides forward. The Bengals, I'm curious to see because they put so much stock into Joe Burrow, into Jamar Chase, and into T. Higgins. There's not going to be enough to lift over. We know about the Trey Hendrickson holdout. We know that about them releasing Pratt and him signing with I believe it was the Raiders he signed with. Jermaine Pratt.
I think so, but I'm not 100% sure. But I almost put that on my list. Spoilers for later. It's not there, but I'm glad that
the Raiders
hit on it. Okay.
He signed with the Raiders. Yep. I was right. So I'm looking to see which teams can take strides forward. I wonder if the Commanders can keep their strides going. They added some pieces in the offseason. They brought in Deebo Samuel. They brought in Laramie Tunsil from the Texans to shore up that line a little bit. So I want to see how that goes. I also want to see, and this is number 4, which teams will have a letdown in 2025. The 2 teams I'm looking at, the Denver Broncos, year 2 of Bo Nix, year 2 of Sean Payton, and also the Minnesota Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Darnold played great until week 18 and the wild card. He fell apart in those games, which I think prompted the Minnesota Vikings to say, great job, but thanks for being here, but we're going to move on. We got JJ McCarthy waiting in the wings. I'm curious to see how Minnesota will fare with JJ McCarthy, no relation, at quarterback next year, because this year will be truly his rookie season. He didn't have one last year because he had a meniscus tear. He missed all of last year. Denver, we saw what Bo Nix could do. We saw what the defense could do. They loaded up a little bit on defense, but usually rookie quarterbacks who have a great season in their first season always seem to take a little bit of a step back in their second year. So I'm curious to see if we're going to have a letdown with Denver and Minnesota this season. Going back to my changing of the guard, the AFC, I think the Chargers and the Chiefs are going to be the two teams to watch in the AFC West. And I wonder, hopefully the Chargers don't charger like they have been. Although last year's in the wild card last year, they definitely chargered.
Yeah. Yes.
But I wonder if Jim Harbaugh is going to make this team take a step forward next year. And then finally, number 5. Are we going to see a full season of optimal Jordan Love? Because last year I mentioned the Jordan Love Toyotathon anomaly, where his stats aren't that impressive before Toyotathon or Happy Honda Days, if you observe that.
Yeah, yeah.
But during Toyotathon or Happy Honda Days, he looks great, has impressive numbers. And then as soon as Toyotathon and Happy Honda Days end, he falls apart. And it kind of showed last year in the playoffs, especially yes, they went to the playoffs last year. All the 3 of the 4 NFC Central teams went to the NFC North team, went to the playoffs. And then the Packers defense played great, but Jordan Love had like nobody to throw to and had no running game. The running game got taken away in the wild card, and we saw what the Eagles could do after that. So I wonder if we get a full season of Toyotathon Jordan Love. And for a while at the beginning of the season, we didn't see that because he was hurt in the first Friday in Brazil on the first Friday of the season. But I want to see what he does for a full season. If we can get that magic, if we can harness that magic from Toyotathon / Happy Honda Days, we get a full season of it.
I'd love to see it. I love to see it.
All right. So that's my first 5 stories of this season for 2025. Over to you, my friend. What's your other 5 storylines going?
All right. Well, I like it so far because we did not, and special shout out to, as you mentioned, friend of the show, Rod Peterson, for the inspiration for this.
Absolutely.
But we didn't coordinate, our ideas, and so far we've hit on some different things. So I like it. Hopefully we can keep it going in the back half, in the back 9, if you will, of this list. So my number 6, it goes to your division, Ryan, but it's not talking about your Jets yet. I have one Jet-centric item on the list, but I tried to stay away because I figured you'd want to talk about your team. Number 6, will Mike McDaniel finish the season as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins?
Oh,
and I just think that he might not, because he's had trouble. His system can put up a bunch of points against bad teams. That's what he can do. And then when the cold weather hits, they look dominant. And when the cold weather hits, they fold. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, but Tua, he has the concussion issue to worry about. He could miss significant time. And you look at some of the acquisitions that they brought in Alexander Madison as an extra running back. We saw the kind of year he had last year in Oakland. He never really took command of the job in Minnesota. I look at these and sorry to my friend Derek, if you're watching, he is a Dolphins fan, but I see some of the signings that they made in the offseason, and I'm going, I don't know that this improves this team, especially in a division where you've got to knock the Bills off, and you've got a Jets team that people can say what they want, but the Jets defense is still a good unit. And, I think their head coach is going to start turning them around. So we have that.
Oh, before you go on.
Yeah.
We have a snowman. We say his name and he appears.
There he is.
Snowman.
There he
snowman
is.
Checking in. # snowman raid incoming. So look out.
Here
come the snowbirds.
Oh man. Happy to have y'all flying into the chat.
That's what I'm going to call him from now on, snowman. Whenever he had a snowman raid, I'm going to say, here come the snowbirds.
Happy to see you, snowman.
All right, here we
If you're
go.
just joining us, I am going on to my 7th most anticipated storyline that I'm watching coming into the NFL season. Number 7. Here's where we get to your New York Jets, Ryan,
Oh.
because I was kind of hoping that my Seattle Seahawks would sign Justin Fields at quarterback. So I'm very curious. How will Justin Fields play in New York? How will the Jets coaching staff set him up to succeed? They don't have the former Broncos head coach as their offensive coordinator anymore, so they don't have
Praise Jesus.
they don't have to contend. They don't have to contend with the gold zone. So
Ugh.
I'm very curious to see how Justin Fields does in New York, because we've all seen the talent that he has with
Yes.
his legs.
Yep.
We've all seen what he can do. And if he can just incorporate passing just a little bit more, and the Jets have not one but 2 running backs he can hand the ball
Yep.
off to. I think Justin Fields could do some things, and he's also got some wide receivers who can bail a quarterback out. So
Including his Ohio State teammate Garrett Wilson.
yes,
Before we
reunited.
continue, Callie joining the show saying hi, #Snowman Raid. Callie, if you wouldn't mind, hit that subscribe button. We're sitting at 394 subscribers for no credentials required, and we want to try to make it our mission by the end of the year to get to 500. So if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, we got lots of content coming during the summer, including the happy hours, including our live shows. So if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, we would certainly appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you enjoy yourself. Crack a beverage if you're with us.
Yeah.
All right. So now we are on
Adult
to
or otherwise.
Yes. If I know my Uncle Al, he's cracking a Coke Zero watching the show.
Of course he is. or a polar seltzer.
Yes, that could also be a thing. All right. So now we hit my number 8. This one hits to the Ravens, Ryan. So we hit on some similar things, but will the signings of Jair Alexander and DeAndre Hopkins be enough to elevate Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens over the top? Will it be enough to put them over the hump and get them to a Super Bowl? DeAndre Hopkins, I know he's not what he used to be, but he gives Lamar yet another target to bolster the receiving cord there. And Jair Alexander, one of the best corners in the game, simply put. So it's an injection into their defense. So I'll have my eye on those 2 signings to see how they impact and assist Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9, this next one's for you, Uncle Al, and I'm sorry that I have to say it like this. Will the Giants' offensive line be able to protect any QB, whether it be Jameis Winston, whether it be Russell Wilson, who, if you saw some clips that I saw going around social media, the Giants' pass rush was all over Russell Wilson in the second step of his 3-step drop. So not looking too good early, and I'm curious to see whether the Giants' offensive line will be able to protect the quarterback at all, whether it be Mr. Winston, Mr. Wilson, or the aforementioned in his comment, Jackson Dart. And I'm closing out this list. Number 10, you talked about it earlier in your list, so I guess there's a little bit of overlap, but I have it plain as day. Will the Commanders win the NFC East? Ooh. And you talked about it when you addressed the Commanders earlier in your list, so I'm not going to rehash a lot of what you said, but it's basically, will they be able to essentially finish what they started last year? Because you saw the potential. You saw the potential in that team, and you saw what Jaden Daniels can do, and they brought in Mr. Ayuk. And I got a lot of I like the direction the Commanders are going. Will they win the NFC East? Will it be enough to take down the Eagles? And that is my list of 10. And with that, I pass it over to you for your 6 through 10.
All right. My 6 through 10 goes like this. Number 6, I'm going to ask the question that I think a lot of football fans are asking. And that would be, is this the year the NFC South is not a garbage division? Outside of New Orleans, we Kellen Moore, God bless you. You have a lot of work ahead of you. Pal. They don't really have a quarterback to be established, especially since Derek Carr retired, which was really sad. Forced to retire because his shoulder doesn't work anymore, which is so sad. But you got the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Todd Bowles calling the shots on defense. They are who they are. They've won 5 straight division titles. Are they going for 6? Well,
Chris Godwin coming back healthy for them.
That's Chris Godwin coming back healthy too. Get the Atlanta Falcons, who I think at the beginning of this season, Michael Penix is your starting quarterback.
I agree with you.
And we saw glimpses of what he could do in that Week 18 classic, absolute classic against the Carolina Panthers, against Mr. Young over in Carolina. His name's escaping me for
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young, thank you. I was going to say Chase, but Chase plays in New Orleans as their edge rusher. Bryce Young. Look, Bryce Young has had some bumps early in his career. Got benched last year for Andy Dalton by Dave Canales, the offensive coordinator. But once they started getting that run game going, once he got he had a receiver. Once he got established with a receiver, once he got a run game going, his game improved a lot. And I think in that Week 18 game between Atlanta and Carolina, that shootout, that absolute gem of a game, that was my final game of the week on this program last year. I think both Carolina and Atlanta have a chance to topple Tampa Bay in the division race in 2025. But again, season on paper they do. On paper, both teams do.
Yeah.
Atlanta improved on defense. They needed a pass rusher. They got one in the draft. Carolina, their defense is starting to be established, but they're establishing their identity on offense. Bryce Young is their quarterback. You got Chuba Hubbard in the backfield. You got some guys who I remember who they signed in the offseason that was like, wow, I can't believe he signed with them. There's a guy and there's also a draft pick that that eludes me. His name eludes me. I'll look it up in just a second. Like you're starting to see Carolina building something, and I think it was a blessing that David Tepper got out of the way, because we know how volatile an owner he is. But I wonder, with him getting out of the way, it's a blessing for them. So Tetroa McMillan, he's the receiver that they picked up in the draft. That's what I was trying to remember who it was.
Okay.
They also picked up Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow came out.
Yeah, that's right.
He signed with the Panthers, so it gives him another option.
Yeah, and he could fill that role that Thielen filled so well last year as like that safety valve.
Yep, and Adam Thielen's still with the team. He believes in Bryce Young, so hopefully the Panthers got themselves established with some help on the offensive line. Their defense can pick things up. Atlanta, hopefully we get a breakout season from Kyle Pitts. He's due, or else that experiment is over. My number 7 question, and this is the first time, and this is really the first time we kind of overlap, but how much of an impact will Aaron Rodgers have as a Pittsburgh Steeler? Because he went on Pat McAfee on Tuesday. He said, yeah, this is pretty much my last year in the NFL. And I said on Total Football Talk earlier this afternoon, I said, yeah. Drew asked me, do you believe that this is Aaron Rodgers' last season in the NFL? I said, yeah, pretty much. If Sidney Sweeney shows up at my door with a sandwich and a 6-pack. I don't believe him, but I'm also inclined to believe him because of his age and who he signed with. But
yeah, I mean, I have it on good authority, Ryan. I don't think he's married to the idea.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Wow. Don't be sorry. I'm just like, oh, I'm impressed.
I worked for that one.
You had to dig deep for that one.
Yeah.
But I think that team goes as far as the defense goes because they are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their wins and losses are predicated on what the defense does. And that defense is literally the most expensive defense in the National Football League. I saw a list of the 5 most expensive defenses. Pittsburgh's number 1. The Giants are number 3. And we saw how bad they were last year. You know who's in that top 5 list? The Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, man.
But, again, Indianapolis is a decent defense. It's their offense and especially quarterback is the problem.
Yeah, it's
so right now it's looking like Daniel Jones is going to be QB1 in Indianapolis. Indiana Jones, baby.
the fall of Anthony Richardson. And I mean, I know it's early and Anthony is still young, but man, people were so fired up about what he could do in the NFL and wow.
Yeah. So that's number 7. I'm still waiting for Sydney Sweeney to show up in my door with a sandwich and a 6-pack.
You hear that knock, Ryan?
Excuse me. Actually, it wouldn't be Sydney Sweeney. She's too young. Yeah.
Uncle Al taught me some wisdom that how you can figure out the age of who you can date, the youngest you could date.
Part of me is the French curve. It's half your age plus 7.
Yeah.
The other part of me is if I'm old enough to be your dad, then no, I can't date.
Yeah, that's that would be bad.
And I'm old enough to be Sydney Sweeney's dad, so no.
Yeah.
But if it was Elizabeth Shue,
if the shoe fits.
Yeah, that's right. How you doing?
I'm sorry. I'll see myself out.
You'll see myself out. All right. Goodbye. All right. Number 8. Question number 8. Which new head coach finishes with the best record? We have 7 new head coaches in the NFL in 2025. I'll read them off as in this order. Ben Johnson with Chicago. Mike Vrabel with the Patriots. And I'm still pissed at Robert Kraft for firing Gerard Mayo. Given only 1 year because he knew Mike Vrabel was going to be available. That skunk. Hope you enjoy your ranch dressing and your massage. Kellen Moore. You didn't. Oh, you got that.
Well, I did.
Kellen Moore with the Saints. Brian Schottenheimer with Dallas. In the 11 minutes and 33 seconds he didn't get to talk at that introductory press conference. Pete Carroll with the Raiders. Oh, wait. Hold on. I got the clip. This guy with the New York Jets.
Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Listen, there are going to be some challenges. But with challenges gets opportunity. But here's what I do know. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this.
Can't say the last word. And then finally, in Jacksonville, we have this guy. Duval.
It never gets old.
It never gets old.
I almost forgot about it, Ryan. Forgot.
I have not. And I brought it back. So I'm curious to see which new head coach is going to have the most success, most immediate impact on his team. And I'm going to play it. Homer alert. I fully believe that Aaron Glenn is going to have the most success with the New York Jets because they didn't have a whole lot of roster turnover, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Although you could argue DJ Reed going to Detroit hurt them, but they signed from Baltimore. They signed Brandon Stevens from Baltimore. They bring in Andre Sisco to play free safety, who formerly of the Jaguars. Jimmy and Sherwood stayed. Quincy Williams stayed. They don't have a whole lot of turnover in their front 7. The only one that really has the only position that had turnover was Will linebacker when CJ Mosley was released and subsequently retired. But Will McDonald, we got 3 of Will McDonald, we get Jermaine Johnson coming back. He'll be back in the lineup and that edge combination is going to be incredible. Which I think will free up a lot of room for Quinn Williams to do some work in the interior. That defensive line is going to be great. And I think with the scheme they're going to bring in, the scheme that basically is not to lose games because their defense was a problem last year, but I think Aaron Glenn will clean things up. And Steve Wilkes as your defensive coordinator. Steve Wilkes is your defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I mean, how big of a win is that if you're a new head coach coming into this league? Have an experienced guy like Steve Wilkes as your defensive coordinator. He's going to help clean things up on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, the Jets are going to run the ball a lot. A lot. This is not a warning. This is not a prediction. This is a spoiler alert. The Jets are going to run the ball a lot. They got Breece Hall. They got Braylon Allen. It's a solid 1-2 combination. They got Justin Fields who can use his legs to create big plays, but they also you got another year of Garrett Wilson. You bring in Arian Smith, who, yes, he had some drops in college, but he's putting in the work right now. They got Mason Taylor, who is going to be a big part of that offense. You've got a rebuilt offensive line with Armand Membu as your right tackle. They're building a big, beautiful wall in New York, and it's going to be awesome for the next decade. I believe. So I think Aaron Glenn will be the best of the new head coaches. A lot of these other guys, they have a lot of work to do, especially Kellen Moore with the Saints.
Yeah.
I think he has the toughest job ahead of him. Pete Carroll, he can get things done. Yeah. I'm curious to see what Chip Kelly does with that offense with Ashton Jeanty in the backfield. I'm curious to see if Aiden O'Connell is going to be yeeted out of Los Angeles. Liam Cohen's got some work to do because Jaguars defense isn't that impressive. Brian Schottenheimer, God bless you and good luck.
Yeah.
Ben Johnson, I think he has a chance to do good things. The Bears defense isn't that bad. You just got to build something around Caleb Williams, and they did a good job of bringing in Joe Thuney from Kansas City to be your left guard, not your left tackle, your left guard. So they're trying to build a wall. The same thing to protect Caleb Williams. The thing they should have done with Justin Fields when he was drafted, but they failed to do.
Yeah.
And you got Mike Vrabel in New England, although I don't think New England's going to be as hot as everybody thinks because they made a lot of big splashes in free agency, but yeah, Stephon Diggs is a year removed from an ACL injury.
Yeah,
and he's coming up. He's on the 30-year-old side of his NFL career, so that's when you start to lose production as a wide receiver. So, but I think Aaron Glenn will do the best job. Will be the coach that has the best record after this season.
I agree with you. He's got the best selection of weapons. Like you said, the only other person I think that will be able to pay dividends maybe a little faster is Pete Carroll because they still have I don't think he'll do as well as Aaron Glenn will, but Gino's going to elevate that quarterback play.
Yeah,
that's what you want, and those two know each other very well, and also. Pete's got his bell cow running back that he always wants. And the Raiders defense is actually decent. They won a couple of games. And remember that week 2 shocker, they beat the Baltimore Ravens. And that was with subpar quarterback play. And Gino will at least give them on par quarterback play. Am I going to predict that Gino's going to light up the room? No, but he'll give them better quarterback play than they've gotten.
Here's who I think will have the best success in this league in year 1. It'll be Aaron Glenn, Pete Carroll, Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, Schottenheimer, Cohen, Kellen Moore. Good luck, Kellen Moore, with Mickey Loomis as your general manager.
He has pictures of the benches. He's got something. He's got dirt. He's got something.
Your uncle says something, Bill Belichick. He's at University of North Carolina with his awful girlfriend.
Yeah. Yes.
And number 9 story, which rookies will have the most impact on their teams, the biggest impact on their respective teams this season? I've got 3 at the top of mind. I've got Ashton Janty in Las Vegas. I think he's going to have an excellent season, especially if Chip Davis, who is offensive coordinator for the Raiders, can build a scheme that focuses on Ashton Janty in the run. I think the Giants, picking up Abdul Carter as your edge rusher and then trading back into the first round to get Jackson Dart. And as your uncle says, he's looking forward to the Jackson Dart era. Fingers crossed he pans out. And I remember when the Giants traded back into the first round, some people were saying, oh, this is Shedeur Sanders right here. This is Shedeur Sanders. The Giants are going to win Shedeur Sanders. And no, they picked Jackson Dart. I think they had their eye on Jackson Dart since the combine happened. Yeah. So if he won't, I don't think he'll start right away. I think it'll be Russell Wilson gets to start with Brian Dable, but I think you'll eventually see Jackson Dart, and he's going to have a connection with Malik Neighbors for many, many years. They just need to get the offensive line right. He has to get that line right. Otherwise, they're going to waste another guy. They wasted Daniel Jones when they couldn't build an offensive line to help him. I hope they don't do the same thing with Jackson Dart. I hope that Schoen and Dable figure out a way to protect their number one asset at quarterback, which is now Jackson Dart.
I think they have to, or they're both going to be looking for jobs next year.
Pretty much, yeah. Which leads me to story number 10. Coaches on the hot seat. You mentioned Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel in Miami. I'm going to mention two more names. The aforementioned Brian Dable. He has to at least finish near or at least a game above 500 to keep his job this year. It's not an entirely easy schedule with the Giants. If I look at the Giants schedule for 2025, where's your schedule? There you are. My goodness, it is not an easy schedule. They start the season in Washington.
It's going to be tough.
This is their first 6 games, their first 6 weeks. At Washington, at Dallas, at home against the Chiefs on a Sunday night, at home against the Chargers, at the Saints, Thursday night game, at home against Philadelphia. Then they're at the Broncos, at Philly, San Francisco comes to town in the week 9. If you can finish 4-5 after week 9, you're in decent shape. Although the back end of the schedule is not easy too. They're at Chicago, which is not going to be an easy game. At home against Green Bay, at Detroit, at New England. If they finish 7-6 before the bye week in week 14, that will be a miracle because their back end of their schedule after week 14 is Washington at home, Minnesota at home, at the Raiders, and then they conclude the season at home against Dallas. This could be. I think they could finish above 500 with this schedule. They just need to get through the first 13 games, which I think Dable is sweating the rest of his weight off from those games.
Oh man!
But the back end of the schedule, the first 13 weeks is not going to be fun. The last 4 weeks is going to be all right after the Washington game. So Brian Dable, I think he's definitely on the hot seat. Zach Taylor in Cincinnati. You better hope to God that Joe Burrow remains healthy behind that offensive line. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins play like they did last year. And that defense somehow comes together and Trey Hendrickson stays as a Bengal. Because that defense did not look good for the first couple weeks of the season. And they managed to finish with the record they did. But I think if they don't make the playoffs this year, I think he's done. And Mike McDaniel in Miami. You were saying he might be the first coach to be fired this year, if and only if things really go bad in Miami. I think they're going to be I think things in Miami are worse than we see.
Yeah.
Even though they were They improved towards the end of last season. I think Miami's in a whole bunch of trouble because between their salary cap situation, all the injuries that happened to Tua Tagovailoa. Guess who their backup is in Miami?
Oh, I just saw it too. I can't remember. I just saw it when I was looking
Zach Wilson is their backup.
That's right. Okay. Oh man.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So fun in Miami if you're a Miami Dolphins fan. And they even know that this could be the last year we see Mike McDaniel on the sidelines in Miami. So he better make the playoffs or win the division or do something right. Otherwise, his time and Chris Greer's time in Miami, I think Chris Greer and him going hand in hand, they're a tandem duo. And if the season goes bad, they'll be both out of a job by the end of the year, if not earlier.
Yeah, it could be. And before we close this one out, Ryan, kind of an impromptu. I know there's no way I'm the first one to think of this question. But with Derek Carr's forced retirement in New Orleans, do you think they try to make a trade with the Giants for Jameis Winston? He's been in New Orleans before. Do you think they try to get a bridge quarterback? Because who's their quarterback currently? Spencer Rattler? Is that who they have?
Spencer, let me take a look at their depth chart. So their quarterback room right now is Tyler Shugg, the rookie from Louisville, Spencer Rattler, Jake Hayner, and Hunter Deckers.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
also a rookie from Iowa Western.
Man.
Yeah.
It could be tough. It could be tough. I mean, it's something to think because you got to figure, like you, I think Wilson gets the starting job for the Giants to start the season. And then I think Dable and Mr. Schoen are going to want to go to Jackson Dart as soon as possible to see, if possible, to see what they have. So that leaves an opening for Jameis to possibly go look for a starting job somewhere else. I don't know.
Possibly. But yeah, if the Giants if by week 13 they're sitting at 4-8, then yeah, start Jackson Dart for the rest of the season. And if you're Brian Dable, pray that he finishes 4-0 or 4-9. I'm sorry, 4-9 by the bye week. And you start Jackson Dart for the last 4 weeks of the season and pray that you can get to 8-9 so you can try to keep your job. And then see what happens in year 2 with Jackson Dart. But we went a little long with those questions.
Oh,
but
we
okay.
did the football questions.
That's okay. It's football. It's on our minds. But we're gonna take a quick commercial break. We're gonna tell you about our friends at Fanatics. Being a fan isn't just about game day; it's about every day. At Fanatics, they've got the gear to rep your team and the memorabilia to make it unforgettable. From jerseys to limited edition collectibles, from the stands to your shelf, it's all here. Fan gear, fan moments, Fanatics. Link is in the description. That's the link to help our show. We make a little bit of money off of every sale on Fanatics. So hit that link in the description. Get your fan gear from all the major teams, the NFL, like we've been discussing, Major League Baseball, the NBA if you want, and National Hockey League, as well as many other leagues out there like WNBA, MLS. A lot of those stores, a lot of those leagues use Fanatics as their fan store. So use the link in the description. That's our show affiliate link. We get a little bit of money off of every sale. That helps the show to help us improve with our technology, to help us with our dues for our network, and possibly some other things in the future. So Fanatics, thank you for being an affiliate sponsor with no credentials required. All right, we're going to go very quickly to Hot Food Takes. And this Hot Food Takes has to do with an article that my sister, God bless her, found on Food and Wine magazine. This was actually this article was actually published a couple days ago. And the article is, didn't want to burp in the microphone. This is not Corner Booth. We're not going to burp in the microphone in this podcast.
Yeah. The beers. I've had to use the mute button quite a bit.
That's okay. we keep it professional in this realm. But this article was published. It's by Greg Baker on foodandwine.com. These are the 10 restaurants every barbecue lover must visit. And we're going to give our 3, but here are the barbecue restaurants in question in order from 1 to 10. Number 1, Franklin Barbecue, Austin, Texas. Number 2, Rodney Scott's Whole Hog Barbecue in Charleston, South Carolina. Number 3, Southern Soul Barbecue in Simons Island, Georgia. Number 4, Joe's Kansas City Barbecue in Kansas City, Kansas, not Missouri, Kansas. At number 5 is Barb's BQ. That's Barbara's BQ, Lockhart, Texas. Number 6, Pappy Smokehouse in St. Louis. Number 7, Big Bob Gibson in Decatur, Alabama. Number 8 is Cozy Corner in Memphis. Number 9 is Louis Muller Barbecue in Taylor, Texas. And number 10, Lexington Barbecue in Lexington, North Carolina. Dustin, I sent this article to you, and I said, let's pick the 3 visits. Let's pick the 3 restaurants we want to visit based off this list. And I know that one of these restaurants is on your bucket list.
Yes.
Or restaurants you want to go to.
Yes.
I want to hear the other ones. Actually, I want to hear the 3 that you have picked out from this article.
All right, so I'm going to do this very fast. And as you mentioned, one of these restaurants I mentioned on our bucket list food locations episode a while back. So it should come to no surprise that the first entry on this list is also number 1 in my barbecue heart. I love this man. I have one of his books about how to smoke meats. I've learned a lot from him. If you've seen the movie Chef, you've seen this man. It's where they get the meat for some of the Cuban sandwiches. I'm going to Franklin Barbecue in Austin, Texas. That's my number 1 with a bullet. That's no surprise to anybody that's watching this show. However, the next location that intrigued me the most based on the summary in this article, I'm going to Southern Soul Barbecue in Simons Island, Georgia. Want to check it out. Everything sounded very good to me there. And I want to try that Brunswick stew. And I've
had Brunswick stew.
Yeah, it's something I've only had a couple of times in my life, and I want to try the Simons Island variety. And I like a mustard-based barbecue sauce, and this place has that. So that's number 2 on my list. And then number 3 on my list is actually number 4 on this list. I'm going to Joe's Kansas City Barbecue in Kansas City, Kansas, because I've never had KC style barbecue. I wanted to pick a destination from Carolina on this list so I could tick the 3 major styles of barbecue, in my opinion: Texas, KC, and Carolina, and not discounting St. Louis style barbecue, but to me that's kind of lumped in with Kansas City. They're both Missouri based, okay? But so that's my number 3 is Joe's Kansas City Barbecue, and those are the 3 locations that intrigued me the most on this list. But I'd try any place on this list. And with that, I pass it over to you.
All right, so my 3. My first one is Rodney Scott's Whole Hog Barbecue in Charleston, South Carolina. I know Charleston is one of those destinations that foodies have to go to. And from my understanding, South Carolina, in Charleston, there are no skyscrapers.
Oh.
There are no buildings. I guess there's a city ordinance that there should be no building that is taller than any of the churches, which is really cool. So it gives that hometowny feel, kind of like my town is, like Boston Spa is, or kind of like that, like the Village down in Boston Spa. You don't see a lot of big buildings down here, which I think is pretty cool. But the fact of a whole hog being roasted every single day, it sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And I've been to a pig roast before, but I've never had it Southern style. And I definitely want to check it out. So Rodney Scott's Whole Hog Barbecue is on my list. My other one, number 2, would be Lexington Barbecue in North Carolina. And Dustin, you and I, being veterans of the old Outer Banks trips to North Carolina, We've had our share of barbecue down there. We've had Suey's barbecue, which is pretty good. Duck Deli is also really good, but I want to get the real when it comes to Carolina barbecue, and that's why I picked Lexington barbecue. They have something called you want to ask for outside brown for extra flavor and smokiness when you order your barbecue plate. And finally, yeah, I definitely want to check out a Texas destination. So on my third, I would want to visit Barb's BQ in Lockhart, Texas, because I want to get myself some Texas style brisket. I know with Texas barbecue, they get the sauce. They make their own sausages. You also get the big old beef rib. Get yourself some brisket. Get some burnt ends. Oh man, Texas barbecue is a thing I want to do. I've wanted to do for such a long time because I've never been to Texas. But my sister and I have talked some about going to the Texas State Fair one of these years because of the fair food, the barbecue, and also the Red River rivalry between Oklahoma and Texas. That football game takes place in the Cotton Bowl during I think it's the last weekend of the Texas State Fair. So definitely want to check out some Texas barbecue before I leave this realm. That's for sure. Your Uncle Al saying, "Shout out Duck Deli." He says that barbecue has changed my life and probably shortened it. Same.
Yeah.
All right, and that's been this quick edition of Hot Food Takes. I don't think you'll find that burger at the barbecues though.
Yeah, probably not. But maybe they do a brisket burger or something. One of these places.
Maybe.
Maybe we might have to try that, Ryan. We might have to Frankenstein something. Get some brisket, smoke it up, smoke brisket burger, baby.
Yeah, or get some brisket and grind it and make ourselves some nice burgers.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
so, there you go. All right, to close up the show, let's close up this Friday happy hour. We're going to reveal our favorite athletes to wear the number 47. Dustin checked in with me earlier and said, "Is your favorite number 47 baseball?" I said, "No, it's football." So I'll have you lead off, Dustin. Who's your favorite athlete to wear the number 47?
All right, this one kind of surprised me when I was thinking about it, but then, I'm sitting here and I'm going, of course, I'm a kid of the 90s. I watched a lot of the Superstation back in the day. When there was
TBS.
When there was baseball on that I wanted to watch and there wasn't a Yankee game on. I'm not saying I rooted for this team, okay? I want to get that clear. I did not root for this team, but I watched a lot of Braves games because you could get TBS. TBS was in a lot of households, and Ted Turner Ted Turner owned the Braves at that time, and you saw a lot of Braves games in the 90s and early 2000s, the mid to late 90s, early 2000s. And I saw Tom Glavine pitch a lot. And Tom Glavine, a great pitcher. The embarrassment, that is probably one of the greatest starting three of all time when you have the combination of Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz. Forget about it. I mean, AK-47, Kevin Wilson coming in. Happy birthday. I almost mentioned Andrei Kirilenko. He was great.
Yep.
But Tommy Glavine, he gets the nod. He's got 305 wins in his career. He's got a career 3.54 ERA. He started 682 games. He had 2,607 strikeouts, and he spent most of his Hall of Fame career. He was inducted in 2014, I believe. He spent most of his Hall of Fame career with the Atlanta Braves. He did pitch, I believe, a couple of seasons for the New York Mets, which I almost forgot about. But by then, Tommy, I think he dealt with some injuries and stuff. But I always felt like Tom Glavine was kind of the more understated member of that Braves big three there. Smoltz and Maddox, especially, I think were a little more well known. It wasn't that Tommy was the forgotten man. He's too good for that. But he was just quieter. He didn't give as many interviews, didn't give as many sound bites. And in spite of myself, because I rooted against the Braves a lot, I love to watch Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux, and John Smoltz pitch, to say nothing of John Smoltz reinventing himself as a closer and becoming great at that as well. I mean, they that Braves rotation, I'll remember that for a long time, and I'll remember Tommy Glavine. He makes the list as my favorite 47.
Not to mention Steve Avery as part of that.
Yeah. Can't forget him.
Underrated. Your Uncle Al saying Shane Spencer.
Oh man, over the fencer, Shane Spencer. I don't know.
Yeah, he has some questionable decisions post career. Let's just put it that way.
Oh geez.
Not good.
I don't know about this.
Our friend Kevin Wilson, the birthday boy himself, saying AK-47, the Russian rifle, Andrei Kirilenko, Utah Jazz. And he says, watching you and the Wings at the same time. Oh,
awesome.
How are you going to hear it? Hear us.
Yeah.
All right. My number 47 was a football player, well known in the football realms in the 1990s, arguably one of the greatest defensive backs of that era. From Stanford College, number 47 for the Buccaneers and the Denver Broncos, now serving as the president and GM of the San Francisco 49ers. That is Mr. John Lynch.
Oh, great pick.
9-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, 2006 Alan Page Award winner, was the 2019 Pro Football Writers Association Executive of the Year, and a member of the Hall of Fame, known as one of the most fearsome hitters in the NFL at the time. Part of that defense, that renaissance in Tampa Bay, was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 1993 and didn't see a whole lot of action until 1996 when Tony Dungy took over. Monty Kiffin, may he rest in peace, being a part of that defense, and was an important part of that defense that just absolutely wrecked other teams during that era when they transitioned from the sherbet orange over to the pewter power that they were and becoming the superpower that they were on defense in the late 90s, mid 1990s into the early 2000s, and was a huge part of that 2002 team that won the Super Bowl. Finished with 26 career interceptions, 1,059 total tackles in his career with 4 quarterback hits. He also had 13 quarterback sacks in his career, finishing with a career high of 4 as a member of the Denver Broncos in 2005 when he was a Pro Bowler. Incredible defensive back, and just one of those guys who was a key part of those Tampa Bay Buccaneers teams who were just unbelievable in the 1990s. And there may be a number 55 on that team that may be a part of my favorite athletes to win number 55 when we come to episode 55, just a few episodes away. So it's a little bit of a teaser for my number 55. So, but John Lynch, definitely in my mind, one of my favorite defensive backs from that era, because I'll come out and say it. A lot of those Tampa Bay Buccaneers teams were on my fantasy football teams back in that day.
Yeah.
John Lynch was a part of those teams.
Yeah. And I mean, that's part of what makes this list. I mean, like I said, a lot of the reason I picked Tom Glavine is because I watched a lot of Braves games because I was watching WCW on the Superstation, and the Braves would be on after. And I'd be like, yeah, I'll watch some baseball. The Yankees aren't on, Oh,
fun fact about Tom Glavine.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Glavine was drafted by the Los Angeles Kings in the 4th round of the 1984 NHL draft.
Wow, I did not know that at all.
Yes. He was born in Massachusetts, so hockey was a big part of his life. Hockey and baseball were a big part of his life during his formative years. And he was a 4th round draft pick of the Los Angeles Kings in 1984, but he decided to go the route of baseball, and we know who he is today.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well for him. But John Lynch,
really well.
John Lynch, I think you're a decent GM, but you were a better football player, my friend.
Oh, we have an update from the Wings. Wings favor again. The Wings have cut the lead to 2. They were down by as many as I think. They were down a lot in the first half and the first quarter, especially, but the Wings have cut to 2.
Oh man. Well, I guess I finished reading my text from that he sent earlier. Kevin said Caitlin Clark was not playing in this game.
No, she's dealing with a groin injury, so she hasn't been in the lineup. Wasn't in the lineup, and I think the last game they played, and she's not in the tonight's lineup, I guess. So that's too bad. But hey, Paige Beckers she was number 1 draft pick for a reason in the WNBA. So
yep.
All right, we're gonna get out of here. My voice is starting to fade, but you can check us out on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Just search for No Credentials Required, and you can find our other podcasts and written articles at bellyupsports.com. On the podcast side, you can subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, iHeart, TuneIn, Pandora, and after the show on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way you're notified about show announcements, when live shows go up, and when show clips go up. I'll put our last 2 movie reviews on our No Credentials Required YouTube page. And again, hit that notification bell. Hit that hit subscribe bell too. Hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get our way to 500 by the end of the year. It'd be very, very helpful if you do that. And again, the podcast side, that's not the one I want. This is the one I want. Rate, review, comment, leave a rating. 5-star rating will be awesome. Leave a review if you can on your preferred podcast platform, and also comment on Spotify. Also, if you're watching the replay on the Belly Up Sports YouTube page, leave a comment below with your stories that you're watching out for in the NFL this year, and leave us your favorite number 47, and also which barbecue restaurant you most want to visit from that list. Thank you for tuning in to No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. We are proudly presented by Belly Up Sports. We'll be back on Tuesday at 6:30 to continue our movie series. We'll be reviewing Invictus on Tuesday, which is about the 1995 South Africa World Cup rugby team, starring Morgan Freeman and Matt Damon. But tune in then, 6:30 Eastern on Tuesday. We're going to take the rest of the weekend off, so enjoy yourselves. Be safe. For Dustin Henry, I'm Ryan McCarthy. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you again on Tuesday night, 6:30 Eastern. Have a great weekend, everyone. Go Firebirds!
Go Firebirds. Good night, everybody. And if you're watching the replay tomorrow on Belly Up YouTube channel, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you.